colleagues, one house, one house. Leader, is Honorable Toby ready with the thing? Now, honorable colleagues, we will continue where we stopped. And Honorable Jones, if you're with us, take your seat. If you want to leave, you can leave. Honorable UK, Honorable Vilita, please. Wow. Well, I have a fairly long speech to deliver and reconvening from this recess, annual recess, which may be the last annual recess that this assembly will have. And I'll go straight on to present the address because of time. Honorable colleagues, I'm delighted to welcome all members back to plenary after our recess. No doubt that we've all refreshed ourselves in preparation for the concluding part of our tenure, even though it was a politically busy period. Let me first of all commend all members of the various committees that engage in some legislative activities during the recess. In particular, I commend the Joint Committee on INEC for the patriotism, sacrifice and commitment they put into work on the INEC supplementary budget for the 2019 general elections. This was the irreducible first step to be taken before the matter goes to the appropriation committee for further legislative action as stipulated by our rules. Honorable members, you are all aware that during our recess, what I will describe as the rudest assault ever dealt in the institution of the National Assembly on Tuesday, 7 August 2018, when Max personnel of the Department of State Services, DSS, for inexplicable reasons, invaded this complex and forcefully locked up and occupied the National Assembly. This despicable assault was attacked by security agencies working in concert with anti-democratic elements in quick succession. Expectedly, this last display of brute force by agencies that have constitutionally assigned responsibilities of protecting all of us attracted national and international uproar and condemnation. This mindless assault on our hard-won democracy was a rude reminder to all of us that our democracy is still very fragile, and therefore we should never go to sleep believing that the work of democracy is done and that progress is inevitable. We cannot but thank those vigilant NAS members, our colleagues who at great risk confronted these heavily armed Marx and hooded fascist agents. In the same vein, we must also thank the press, civil society organizations, the generality of Nigerians, and the international community for rising to the occasion as living heroes of our democracy to stave the savaging of our democratic institutions. In this regard, we commend the then acting president, His Excellency Professor Yemi Osibanjo, SAN, who swiftly took disciplinary action against some of the perpetrators of this seditious and subversive action. We call on the executive to ensure that all other accessories before or after the fact of this treasonable act must be quickly brought to book, as the then DG SSS could never have acted alone. This must be the case if we hope to put an end to this kind of brinkmanship going forward. We must remind ourselves at all times that our loyalty in tandem with our oath of office is to the nation and not to any individual or sectional cause or interest. The goal of some people who are working to enthrone tyranny and despotism is to harass, intimidate, and ridicule this great institution of the people to the point that we are forced to abdicate our responsibilities and fidelity to our oath of office. It is a pity that these elements know nothing about the character of this great institution, the fact that our devotion to the rule of law far surpasses our love and admiration for any individual or group of persons. If this was not the case, that time would have succeeded, and the motion on the doctrine of necessity would have failed. We cannot drift in our own time from the path of honor and courage that has been the hallmark of these hallowed chambers. As patriots, we owe it a duty to patriotically support the patriotic, even if they are our foes, and to patriotically oppose or defeat the unpatriotic, even if they are our best friends. As we settle down to business, let me reiterate that the INEC supplementary budget bill must be accorded expeditious consideration. Furthermore, the pending issue of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, which was unfortunately vetoed by Mr. President, must also be expeditiously considered and passed. The new Electoral Act Amendment Bill has provisions that are designed to guarantee free, fair, and transparent elections in Nigeria. The Amendment Bill has provisions that are designed to capture innovative tools like the smart card reader, the electronic transmission of results, among others. Any further attempt to frustrate the passing into law of this bill will be indicative of our desire not to improve on the successes of the 2015 general elections, further foiling the fears that some, including our international partners, have about some forces who intend to manipulate the forthcoming elections by exploiting identified loopholes in the Electoral Act currently in force. At this juncture, honorable colleagues, I wish to reiterate that as we enter the last leg of our tenure, we should not lose sight of the fact that we still have much business to do. I urge us not to be so absorbed by the politics of 2019 as to allow our legislative duties to suffer. We must utilize the available time judiciously to serve the country and our people to the best of our ability. Having started strong with groundbreaking and record-setting achievements, we will be on the wrong side of history if we fail to finish as strongly as we started. It is said that the end of a matter is better than the beginning thereof. Permit me to congratulate all honorable members who have won their primary elections and to wish those whose elections may still be in process a favorable conclusion. Others are said to have lost their nominations in circumstances which remain contentious. To such, we shall do all within our powers to assist them in the various political parties to get fair opportunity. We have all made tremendous sacrifices, and it is only fair that this is rewarded. The leadership is aware of the impunity that characterized the conduct of some primaries in which some of our members allegedly lost the ticket to contest in the next election. We have done our best to ensure internal democracy within parties, but it appears parties prefer to pander to the whims and caprices of some powerful individuals rather than the law. May I reiterate the warning of Kekere Okun, Justice of the Supreme Court, in Mato versus Hembe and two others, 2018, 5 Nigeria Weekly Law Report, part 1612, at page 297 to 98, paragraph C to B, where he said, and I quote, "This case, in my view, is a clear example of the mischief sought to be tackled by Section 87(9) of the Electoral Act 2010 as amended. While it is true that the courts will not interfere in the internal affairs of a political party nor its choice of candidate. Section 87(9) of the Electoral Act ensures that in making their choice of candidates for elective office, political parties do not stray beyond the confines of the Electoral Act or their own electoral guidelines. The section seeks to cap the impunity with which political parties hitherto acted without regard to the democratic norms they profess to practice. As stated by my learned brother in the lead judgment, this court, in a plethora of cases, has asserted the fact that political parties must obey their own constitutions and guidelines, and where necessary, as provided by law, the courts will intervene and wield the big stick to prevent arbitrariness. The only way a democratic dispensation can work effectively is where every aspirant for political office who is qualified to contest an election is given an even playing field. The failure of internal democracy within our political parties right from the grassroots level eventually leads to instability in the entire political system. The failure of internal democracy is one of the reasons why the court's dockets are congested with pre-election disputes, caught and uncaught. It is a pity that the 2018 primaries will draw up more pre-election cases than ever before witnessed in Nigeria due to display of impunity by parties in the conduct of primaries across board. May I therefore appeal to all of us that in whatever party we now belong, we should continue to focus on the success of the 8th Assembly, as well as the peace and good governance of Nigeria. We must be individually and collectively committed to the successful and peaceful conduct of the 2019 elections. This we owe to all Nigerians. In closing, I want to thank you all most sincerely for your continued support to the leadership of the House and for your understanding in these trying times. Thank you for preserving the oneness, unity, and brotherhood of the House, irrespective of party or geopolitical divides. And I urge you to please keep up the good spirit. May God bless you, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So we move to matters of urgent public importance. Okay, if any member has a petition to present, may he please rise to do so. Almost jumped that. I guess there's no petition. No, after this. Petition, Honorable Isa Hassan, Jamari.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Isa Hassan Mohammed, representing Jamara Itas Gadau. I'm from Bauchi State. I have a petition from my constituents. I hereby submit this petition on behalf of one of my constituents, Baba Adamu, who was wrongfully dismissed from Nigerian Customs Services by the dismissal letter. I wish to submit, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will submit.
Please proceed and lay the petition. Any more petitions? Whip, can you administer the whip on yourself? Petition referred to the House Committee on Public Petition. Matters of urgent public importance, Honorable Toby Okechukwu. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Tobi Okechukwu. I represent an area of Wojiriba Federal Constituency. I'm from Enugu State. Mr. Speaker, I come under Order 8, Rule 4 on a matter of urgent public importance regarding the inhuman and degrading treatment that is being currently meted out to our colleague, Honorable Abubakar Abdullahi Lado, representing Suleja Federal Constituency. I will appeal, Mr. Speaker, to my colleagues that I be accorded the opportunity to come under Rule 8, Order 8, Rule 4, to move for matter of urgent public importance to be heard, and that it should be heard, and the suspension of other rules so that it could be heard immediately. Thank you. Honorable Udende.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Emmanuel Memga Udende. I represent Kasara Logo Federal Constituency. I'm from Benue State. I stand to second the motion as moved by my colleague. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion that the matter is urgent, say aye. Those against it, say nay. I serve it. Seconder for the second limb of the motion, Honorable Kiruka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Kiruka Onyejo. I represent the good people of Isukwatu Munoj Federal Constituency. I am from Abia State. I second the second limb of the motion that this matter is important and urgent, so that it be taken immediately. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. I serve it. Whip, please approach the chair. Honorable Toby, you can now move the motion. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, this is a motion of urgent public importance calling for the release of Honorable Abubakar Abdullahi Lado, member representing Suleja Federal Constituency, detained for the past 3 days by the Special Anti-Robbery Squad of the Nigerian Police. The House is aware of the detention of Honorable Abubakar Abdullahi Lado, member representing Suleja Federal Constituency, by the Special Anti-Robbery Squad SAD. The House is further aware of his continued detention for the past 3 days, which action offends the Nigerian Constitution and amounts to inhuman and degrading treatment. The House is embarrassed that the intervention of the House leadership for his release was rebuffed by the Nigerian police, ostensibly because it is only the governor of Niger State that can give instruction for his release. The House is further briefed that the detention arose out of issues which had ab initio, which he had out of. The House is further briefed that the detention arose out of issues related to the APC primaries, which he had ab initio notified the police authorities of efforts to cause crisis by his opponents. The House is aware that the invitation of Honorable Lado was not done through due process and therefore breaches the Legislative Powers and Privileges Act, which requires notifying of the presiding officer before any member is invited or arrested. The House resolves as follows: that the Nigerian police should release Honorable Lado immediately. 2, that the House leadership, including the House leader, including the House leadership, should ensure that this is done by the IG of police within the next 24 hours. I so move.
Honorable Flatter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your colleagues, I rise to second the motion every moved by our honorable colleagues. I so second. Thank you.
Honorable Toby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues. Like I always say, and I always would, the man dies in him who keeps silent in the face of tyranny. That was Wole Soyinka, and the man died. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Lado is a member of this House. He's a first-time member of this House. And he was the first youth leader of All Progressive Congress. That he will be aspiring to represent his constituency under APC primaries, and the next thing he receives is to be thrown into jail by SARS. Against all norms, against all rules, against all laws of this republic. It's quite unfortunate. Mr. Speaker, it is noteworthy that Honorable Abubakar Lado had anticipated there was going to be crisis. And as a law-abiding citizen and a lawmaker representing his constituency, he notified the Nigerian police in writing of this intention. They never provided protection for him, nor for his constituents. Rather, they were waiting to ambush him for him to be thrown into jail. Mr. Speaker, even if he has to be thrown into jail or detention by the SARS, he has to be charged to court within after 24 hours for him to be further detained. That is also coupled with the fact that as a privilege which he enjoys as a member representing this his constituency in this republic, particularly that's the people of Suleja, for his arrest to be affected or for him to be invited by the Nigerian police, which he willingly went, they ought to have notified you, the presiding officer. They didn't do that. And it is quite unfortunate that the efforts by our leadership to approach the Nigerian police was met with the fact that somebody high up there has to give instruction for his release. I have said so, and I continue to say so, that he can only be released by the instruction of the governor of Niger State. Mr. Speaker, this country is governed by the rule of law and not by the rule of men. You can't apply discretion with regard to who you want to detain or who you don't want to detain. And more importantly, this is a law-abiding citizen who has served the country, serves his constituency, and served the APC properly. If they wouldn't give him a ticket for a second time, they should not detain him. It is sad. You made reference to the invasion of the National Assembly the other day. This invasion of this institution is being titrated down to members of the National Assembly. This should not be the case. We are here representing our constituents. We didn't come here because we want to breach any law. And if a member had, due to his understanding of the law,
notify the police. The minimum they can do is to give him protection alongside citizens who have come to vote in the primaries. Mr. Speaker, I do not think there is any reason for us to be here. If members could be thrown into detention without due process, without following the law, without even notifying you, and detained for over 24 hours, over nothing that he has been told that he has done. His opponents are walking free. The people who caused the crisis are walking free. I believe that we should support this motion. We should make sure it's carried. Otherwise, the reason for being here would have been betrayed. Thank you and God bless you.
Honorable Nenna.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for yielding the floor to me. My name is Nenna Elendu KJ, member representing Bende Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm from Abia State. Mr. Speaker, I have listened with rapt attention to this incredulous motion that has just been brought to the floor by Honorable Toby. And the case in point, the issues are not that Honorable Lado is an honorable member, and that's the reason we're all up in arms. The problem, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that in my opinion, the worst kind of corruption is the denial of justice. Mr. Speaker, the Nigerian police sits down as an institution that was created by the laws of this land. Mr. Speaker, they're subject to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. They're subject to the Nigerian Police Act. They're subject to the vision and mission statement of the Nigerian police. They're subject to the rules of the Nigerian police. And Mr. Speaker, sir, evidently, they have flouted all. Mr. Speaker, the Nigerian police says to us that the police is your friend. In their vision and mission and in their code of conduct, the police says that they shall be fair to all citizens, that their mission and vision is to build a police force that is fair, that is evidently fair, and that is professional in its conduct. Mr. Speaker, if we as a parliament sit down and watch a member of this parliament that has laws, the Privileges Act of the National Assembly, that guide the way in which honorable members should be treated, that state very clearly that for you to arrest an honorable member, you should go through the presiding officer. And the police, the chief law officers of this country, decide to flout the laws of this land. Then, Mr. Speaker, sir, the conversation about us being a democracy are brought to question. Any democracy that is not premised upon the rule of law is no democracy. When the people who are supposed to protect us by the laws are the same people who flout the laws with impunity, that, Mr. Speaker, the truth of the matter is we start to ask our questions. Do we actually have a republic? I'm very, very concerned, Mr. Speaker, so I just came back from my own party primaries. And of course, luckily for me, I got away without being arrested. And so I probably am luckier than Honorable Lado. But the truth of the matter is that I'm also in possession of a petition against the Commissioner of Police of my state, who was obviously very, very partial. Everything he did flouted every known law in this country. And Mr. Speaker, sir, it now throws up evidently to all of us that if people who are of privilege in this country can be treated with the same amount, with this kind of disdain, disrespect, disregard for the laws of the land, then you can imagine what 180 million Nigerians go through on a daily basis. I am very concerned, Mr. Speaker, sir, that when a presiding officer of the National Assembly says that they release someone in line, not as a favor, but in line with the laws of the land, and they say to you clearly that you do not have the powers to do that. Bail in this country is free. If he has been held, then he should have the opportunity to be bailed. But when you say that a person cannot even be bailed, save for one person, then it calls to question the saying that the police is your friend. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am very, very concerned that if every day as we speak about the justice delivery system in this country, and we've come up with laws and bills to try to strengthen the service delivery, we talk about the Constitution and we speak about how everybody has a right, have rights under the Constitution. And Mr. Speaker, sir, with each passing day, the Constitution is flouted, those laws are set aside, and the people are treated as if they don't have rights. I believe that Honorable Lado is just representative of what happens to us as Nigerians. We must therefore use him as an example to everything that is wrong with the police, with everything that is wrong with our criminal justice system, with everything that is wrong with fairness in the discharge of the Nigerian police job, and we should insist that the right things are done by the Constitution, by the Police Act, by the vision and mission statement of the Nigerian police, and by the code of conduct of the Nigerian police. Thank you very much.
This law first, Honorable Osai.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues. I remain Honorable Osai, Nicholas Osai. I represent local Federal Constituency of Delta State. I rise to wholeheartedly support the first and the second honorable colleagues that have spoken on this issue. Mr. Speaker, the first issue is that I'm aware that SARS as a unit of Nigerian police was reformed recently, and the mandate of SARS is to capture armed robbers and kidnappers and not to arrest citizens that have not been seen to be a robbery issues or a kidnapping issue. So for SARS to have gone above their mission is also questionable, and the Inspector General of Police should be told on these issues, because he came out and told all Nigerians that the reform SARS is basically for robbery and kidnapping. And the second issue is this: the privileges of the honorable members have been breached. It is not only releasing the honorable members, but such issues will also be saddled by the Ethics Committee to look at the application of the legislative privileges and acts on areas of breach of the honorable members' entitlement as an honorable member representing a particular constituency from that federal constituency. Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleague, I wholeheartedly support the immediate release as the first arm of the prayer, immediate release of the member. And Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, sometimes we should make the law to work. And making the law to work, there are many issues that we can use to set example. We can look at also the budget in the next year, the budget of Nigerian police, if they will not listen to the resolution of this house. There are many areas to look at. Because why are we now having the powers of the purse? If we cannot use the power of the purse to correct injustice, that's the area we can go. We can also decide to shut down this National Assembly by tomorrow. If our honorable colleagues are not released, there are certain steps we can take to make the executive to obey the law. And I believe the creation of Nigerian police is an act of National Assembly. And the Legislative Powers and Privileges Act is an act of National Assembly that must be obeyed. It shows that probably people just take anything for granted. And I believe that the honorable colleagues have been denied, because I would deny him to appear to contest his own primary. And the honorable colleagues also go to court to achieve that result after being released. And to this ground, Mr. Speaker, I submit the prayer of this motion, and I ask my colleagues to support these prayers. I so support.
Honorable Arabo, Wale and Rotimi. Then we'll move to this. But quickly, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Simon Honorable is my name. I represent Corporation Constituency and I rise to support this motion. Now, the motion, the venue of detention is at large as far as the motion is concerned. But I've made inquiries and I've been told that our colleague is being detained in the SARS office in Abuja here. Now, I'm also told that the alleged infraction occurred in Suleja. Suleja is not within the territory of the Federal Capital Territory. Suleja is in Niger State. But the Constitution of Suleja is the capital of Niger State. So there is no reason why they will detain him in Abuja if the alleged infraction occurred in Niger State. Because even if it's going to be tried for any offense, assuming, it can't be the Federal Capital Territory. It has to be in Suleja, Niger State. So on that basis, the detention, the view of the detention is illegal and unlawful. Now, having said that he's been detained by the office of SARS, lends credence when Nigeria has actually been calling for the scrapping of SARS. It is very, very clear that the police, by the day, is becoming very, very clear that they are just the naked instruments of oppression and repression in this country. Now, if he's committed any offense, he should be charged to court. Otherwise, he should also go to court. But I also agree that as a member of this House, the leadership ought to have been notified. And if the leadership actually made overtures, the police authorities are actually making a rebuff, then that's very scandalous. It shows that they are being used as instruments of oppression. So I support the motion. Thank you very much.
Honorable Wale Raji.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Wale Raji. I represent the Federal Constituency. I stand to support the motion ably moved by my colleague. Now, the previous speakers have spoken condemning the conduct of the Nigerian police in this regard. But I personally had the opportunity of visiting Lado in detention yesterday, and it is most unfortunate that the Nigerian
police, silence, please.
The Nigerian police
Honorable Dr. Salame, please allow the speaker, please. Please, honorable members, silence.
Handling this matter have not treated him with the dignity that a legislator deserves. They were very rude even to us that visited him yesterday. And this is a pointer. This is a pointer to what Nigerians, thousands of Nigerians experience on a daily basis. The case of Honorable Lado is being discussed here today because of his position. Only God knows how many Nigerians are languishing in the police cell, for frame up charges and in some cases unsubstantiated allegations. And for that reason, I urge the House to have a look at the Police Act and also the conduct a special investigation into the conduct of the Nigerian police force, in particular the SARS, the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. And I will also, apart from the fact that the Inspector General of Police will be mandated to release Honorable Lado within the next 24 hours, we should also, upon this release, the House must support and encourage our colleague to seek legal redress for the his illegal detention. Mr. Speaker, I will further also suggest or recommend that If Ms. Honorable Lado is not released within the next 24 hours, the House should suspend further sitting until he is released. Mr. Speaker, that is my humble submission. Thank you.
So we'll move to this row, Honorable PFU, then in Churuka, and then Padlock, then relooting the loot.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Betty Apiaki. I represent Abua Udwala East Federal Constituency, Mr. Speaker, from Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to join my honorable colleagues to support this motion and state that it is obvious that the SARS will consistently refuse to abide by the laws that establish them. Like some other honorable member has said, the SARS is supposed to be dealing with anti-robbery issues and kidnap issues. The SARS is not supposed to go to Suleja and arrest somebody and bring the person to Abuja. They are working outside their jurisdiction. Unfortunately, we sit in this house every day and we talk about the police and how the police has been disobeying every law of this nation and nothing seems to be done. My colleagues have suggested that we should give the police 24 hours to release our colleague, or we should shut down the house. But I think 24 hours is too much. It's about 3 o'clock today. I believe that if our colleague is not released before 9 o'clock tomorrow, we should shut down the house by tomorrow 11 o'clock. We won't have any sitting. And we should actually demand the proscription of SARS, because I think we have gotten enough of this issues of SARS not abiding by the rules that set them up. The Inspector General of Police has consistently tried to reform the SARS, but I don't think even the reform, I don't think the SARS even have any regard for the Inspector General of Police anyway, because if they do, and the Inspector General of Police has told them that SARS should focus on anti-robbery issues, why then is SARS arresting an innocent member of the National Assembly? Mr. Speaker, all of us are aware as legislators that election candidates for each election, the submission of candidates' name to the INEC is to be done within today. And this honorable member has been locked up for 3 days. So of course his privileges have been breached. And that means that this honorable member will not be able to participate in any primaries that will bring him back to this house. And so I think that we should also demand, it's not a matter of waiting to go to court. I think that we should also demand for the APC to look at this issue and include that honorable member's name in their submission to INEC, because I don't think it's right for them to deprive the honorable member the right to contest a primaries election. The APC promised us that they have come to Nigeria to change things, that the PDP wasn't doing things right. So what change are they talking about when you lock up, when the governor can lock up an honorable member and deprive the honorable member from participating in the primaries election? I think we should also demand for that member, to his privileges to be accorded him, and not just to ask for the honorable member to be released. So that should be part of our condition when we go on. When we shut down the house, we should shut down the house on 2 counts. One, the honorable member must be released and must be allowed to come for sitting by 11 o'clock tomorrow in these chambers. And also that the APC, we have the APC leaders here, Honorable Femi Gbajambiamila, the Deputy Speaker, they are all here. They should go and tell their party to ensure that our members' privileges are not flaunted. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
No. I thought you have spoken. Relooting the loot.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for recognizing me. My name is Honorable Shegu Alexander Adekola, member representing Ekiti South Federal Constituency 1. Mr. Speaker, sir, this calls for a sober reflection. The fall of a dead leaf is a warning to the green ones. If the extant laws of these countries are being disobeyed with disdain, it is quite ridiculous, visible, and very bad. Honorable member of this hallowed chamber, has been detained for 3 days without recourse to court of law. Mr. Speaker, sir, it means any of us can just be relayed and be detained. That is why we have to act to stop this impunity. This country might be heading towards anarchy if laws are not being obeyed, if police are being used as an instrument of oppression and suppression in this nation. For honorable member to want to recontest for that has made him to commit an offense for him to be detained. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have to act fast and we have to let the police, I don't have another name for this rather than call it excessive rascality. We have to stop this act so that this nation can move forward. If we are not proactive in this thing will begin to occur. There will not be any respect for honorable member in this country any longer. Honorable Lado, a quintessential honorable who has been performing his duty very well. For him to say he wants to recontest, I don't think he has committed any offense for him to be detained. Mr. Speaker, sir, I support this motion that the police authority should release him within 24 hours. Otherwise, we should shut down this National Assembly. I so support, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable Nkiruka, I thought you had spoken, and Honorable Pajok too, I recognize it.
My name is Honorable Nkiruka George. I represent the good people of Isukwatu Monochi Federal Constituency. I am from Abia State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I adopt the submission of Honorable Betty Apiafe that says that the leader of this house with other APC leaders should ensure that Honorable Lado makes the list of people that are going to contest the general elections. Because we found out from the investigations or from discussions from our colleagues that this Honorable Lado is on ground and is popular, but the governor does not like his face, and that's just a crime. And if you purport stories and get trumped up charges to say, okay, now he's an armed robber or a kidnapper, and maybe that's why they are keeping him there. But we can attest to him that this honorable colleague of ours, we've been with him, we can attest that he is not an armed robber to the best of our knowledge. And until it is proven so, that the police does not have any right to detain him indefinitely. And of course, the laws are very clear that you don't detain anybody. After 24 hours, the person is entitled to bail. And you did not allow him to be bailed. And some people went there, and they were told that it is only one person that will speak to them for his release. This is an infraction of the highest order. And I believe that we can't sit down here to condone such. And of course, I add that on daily basis in our constituencies, you see police people arresting people that did not do anything. And we go there, they will release them on self-recognition. But now an honorable member have lost self-recognition. And of course, even the issue that before you arrest an honorable member, you approach the speaker for the person to be handed over to police. Nobody is talking about that. So I frown at this seriously, and I believe that this is one thing that we must do for our constituents, that we should frown at this because it's not just because he's an honorable member. They do this every day to motorcyclists, to drivers, to pedestrians, anywhere, everywhere. And if you go to a waiting trial as we speak, Mr. Speaker, you will see there are a lot of people who are just lying down there without trial, without any offense in law, because somebody does not like their face. You point at them, and maybe you probably induce them, and they'll carry them and dump them in cells. And so, Mr. Speaker, I believe that this one is one too many, that we should ask for his immediate release or shut down the house, shut activities, because we have to protest for Nigerians that this thing is not good and it's not going to go well. I so submit.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my name is Edward Pojo. I represent the South and the East. Mr. Speaker, let me join my colleagues in adding my voice to this matter and to say that this is an affront, not just on Honorable Lado, but on this hallowed chambers itself. Mr. Speaker, my point of departure is that instead of just saying that Honorable Lado should file a case in court, we, as the House of Reps or the National Assembly, should file a case in court because he is serving the federal government of Nigeria and the National Assembly. Therefore, we have been denied of the services of Honorable Nolado. So, as our member, whose privileges have been breached at the National Assembly, I do submit that we should take up the case of Honorable Nolado. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, we have heard that from some of our colleagues who visited him in detention, that he was held in indecent circumstances. Mr. Speaker, the law is very clear that everyone should be treated with dignity, even if you're in detention. Mr. Speaker, the question I have asked is, was anybody killed to warrant him being detained beyond 24 hours? Because the law is that it's only when you commit a capital offense that you can be detained for up to 2 months without being taken to court. So, Mr. Speaker, the answer I got was that there was no death occasioned by the scuffle in the constituency. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, does SARS have the right to arrest somebody who ostensibly did not commit the offense of robbery or kidnapping? The answer is very, very obvious. Therefore, the police have gone beyond their powers. They have infringed the powers of a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, I do support Honorable Nicholas Osai's motion that this matter be also referred to the Ethics Committee so that it be properly and thoroughly investigated. Mr. Speaker, if it is found that the governor of Niger State is culpable in this matter, then I am also going to propose a motion that the government of Niger State should be denied any privileges from this National Assembly. If they are seeking any approvals from this House, they should be denied that approval, like what happened in the Senate when they denied the government of Niger State any approvals. Finally, Mr. Speaker, this matter is a dent on the reputation of the National Assembly. I think that we should take this matter very, very seriously, and I also support the motion of Honorable Betty Abiafi that we shouldn't wait for 24 hours. If by tomorrow when we resume, we do not have a report saying that our colleague has been released, then we should cease from sitting until when he is also released. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Maybe leader, you close the debate. So we'll start with Dr. M.S. Abdo, Fred, and then leader closes the debate. Okay. Honorable Adeogun wants to speak, then leader closes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm lending my voice on this case because it's more serious than we think. So the institution of the National Assembly has been under attack severally, and this is the desecration of the integrity of the National Assembly as an institution. We are an institution of lawmaking, and I wonder which law they use to desecrate the very institution that make the laws for them. I mean, it's really disheartening. Mr. Speaker, when the proponent of this motion stood up and said that Nigeria is governed by rule or law, the thing that came into my head, I said, supposedly, we are supposed to be governed by rule of law, but I don't think we are. So, our own children and grandchildren, I am sure, have been implanted with a very, very bad mental picture of a Speaker of the House being hoisted over again, of a Speaker of the House of Representatives in the 7th Assembly being tear-gassed and so on and so forth. I mean, we can't tolerate this by an institution that we have, done our law to keep them to work for us and protect our integrity. Mr. Speaker, since we are the institution making the laws. Even if it's going to be sent back for lack of assent, I think we need to start removing the immunity of the governors, because they have become governors of impunity. I don't know when a governor has become the sheriff that can decide to order for people to be arrested in an area which is outside, even in their own area. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, Mr. Speaker, I adopt all those things that are remedial by our own colleagues. But what is important is that whatever we can do legislatively to attack the impunity on us, to attack the desecration of us as members and the National Assembly, to attack the balkanization of the National Assembly just because some people have guns or money in their hands, I think we need to do it. Honorable Lado is just symbolic, but I am telling you, as one of our colleagues said, he too would have been arrested for 3 days. I mean, and in any case, this is political case. It's not a robbery case. It's not an abduction case. And whatever happens, first of all, we must have the power of self-recognition if we don't have immunity. I want to repeat, the members of the National Assembly have been elected just like any other governor or president. So we need to have our integrity, dignity, and self-esteem protected by us. And that is what I have stood to contribute here. And we cannot wait for any minute. It's not the issue of Lado alone. It's the issue of an institution of government. And we said there is the principles of separation of power, which make us equal to the judiciary and to the executive, and we are the third arm of that government. And yet, we are the most looked down upon. We are the most trampled upon. Come in. I only think the fault lies in us because we are not protecting ourselves, both in our behavior and using the laws. And as somebody said, we must begin to use the law, whatever happens, and make sure we take it the whole hog. If it is budgetary, if it is any, even constitutionally. So I am for us to look at those old laws that will make the governor of the Niger State come to his knees to know that he is a product of law. If he is not a governor, can he do that? And I know SARS cannot do anything without their top, their organs at the top. And I believe the IG knows about this. And I think it's very important that the attack on this issue should start with the IG before we come down to where it ends. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Can you
We
allow
have to
Speaker,
start thinking and make threat to the immunity so that we can remove the impunity. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Adiogun, then leader closes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, Honorable colleagues. Albert Abiodun Adiogun is my name. Member representing Ife Central, East, South and North of Ife Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from the South of Osun State. Honorable colleagues, I want to commend the efforts of our colleague, Honorable Toby, for bringing this matter to the fore. Mr. Speaker, permit me also to adopt some of the views that have been expressed by my colleagues. I just want to add, Mr. Speaker, that the silence of democracy was broken by the military in 1966. Today, if there is collapse of democracy in this country, it's going to be by the police. I also want to mention that our colleagues should know this. That in their preparation for 2019 election, they must be prepared that they are contesting against the police. What the police is doing today, as described by what is happening to our colleague, is just a minor report of what the police is doing. It is therefore important to look at how can we stop the police from derailing democracy in Nigeria. The power being exhibited by police in dealing with Nigerians can better imagine. You can see a member of the house that is being treated this way. You can then imagine what can happen to ordinary people on the street. But most importantly, is the question of democracy. Our experience in the last election in Osun State, particularly on the 27th of September 2018, with all the security agents in this country, mention it, DSS, the military, the police, people were marketed, people were beaten up in the presence of the security agents, and nothing happened. It is therefore worrisome that to keep this democracy, there is the need to discuss the role of Nigerian police in the coming election. I therefore want to urge our colleagues to support this motion, and also urge my colleague Oreapia to bring up an amendment that if by 9 o'clock tomorrow the police still refuse to release Honorable Ado, this parliament should be short. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable Agwedi Yejemene Frederick is my name. I represent Sabama Kremo Federal Constituency. I'm from Bayelsa State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I rise to hide my voice very strongly to this motion, in support of this motion. And Mr. Speaker, to say that and beat our people mercilessly. They are coming to harass me here again. Point of order. Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, Mr. Speaker, protect me from the Deputy Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is very clear that this action is intended to rig the election against the party primary election against our colleague, knowing that he was going to win the election, defeat the governor, and his supposed aspirant is sponsored against our colleague. He deliberately plotted this, created the crisis, arrested our colleague, detained him until the primary is over, submission of names is over, so that he will have no opportunity to express himself in this democracy. And Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, that goes to tell us that Nigeria is now a police state. We have lost democracy in this state by this singular action. Mr. Speaker, the storyline is clear. Judges were raided in this country midnight. Very eminent personalities of this nation was raided in their homes midnight by same security agencies. Mr. Speaker, National Assembly had been attacked severally by these same security agencies. Even the homes of presiding officers have been attacked severally. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, when did an elected member of parliament become a common criminal that cannot identify himself or be identified. Mr. Speaker, are we saying that he was a dog that had no identification? Are we saying that you can just arrest somebody who is contesting a candidate, an aspirant of an election? The only reason and essence for that arrest is to deprive that person, that aspirant, that candidate from participating in that process. And that is just what the governor has connived with SARS to carry out. It is very, very unfortunate, and Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, this House must treat this matter with all amount of seriousness. Investigate the immediate, remote causes and reasons for this action to the extent that the member is still in detention. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, he qualifies to be released on bail on self-recognition as an elected member. Mr. Speaker, those of us who confronted the SSS at the gate here, when they came to attack this only institution of democracy, we told them, because we are elected, we are going to challenge you frontally and do whatever you can do to us and tell the world that as elected people we are criminal, we don't have a right to have access to an institution where we exercise our lawful legitimate duties as members of parliament. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the time and hour has come for us as legislators to stand to continuously defend our democracy. Nigerians have become a police state, and it is unfortunate that if we don't rise up to the task, we are going to be treated like common criminals. And so, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I am urging this House to support this motion in its entirety and ensure that the Ethics and Privileges Committee and any other relevant committee be put together to ensure that this matter is investigated, this motion is investigated, and the recommendations that will arise from this investigation be treated by this parliament as very important issues that will resolve some of these excesses of the police. So I stand to support this motion in its entirety, Mr. Speaker and honorable colleagues. Thank you.
Leader will round up the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues.
Mr. Speaker, it's very unfortunate that several members, including Sejus and the rest of them, distracted you during the course of this debate, because I consider this debate as very important and goes to the very root of our democracy and the survival of this institution. Mr. Speaker, the question I think we need to answer from jump start is whether we live in a jungle or we live in a civilized society governed by the rule of law. I think that question should be answered or can be answered in the affirmative. Mr. Speaker, I had the privilege of visiting, I won't call it a privilege, but I visited Lado, as we call him, as we fondly call our colleague, yesterday at the SARS detention center. And the stories I was told by the officer was bewildering on why he is there in detention. Let's start with what exactly is SARS? What does it stand for? You don't need to be a student of English when you hear Special Anti-Robbery Squad. The meaning and the functions and the responsibility of SARS is embedded within the title or the name given to it, anti-robbery. The question I asked, did he commit robbery? The answer was no. It was a simple case. By the time they narrated the case to us, it was a simple case, as we say in colloquial terms, two fighting. That's what it was, two fighting. The SARS officer showed us photographs of Lado's supporters whose cars had been destroyed.
showed us photographs of the other person's cars that are destroyed, showed us photographs of like those followers that were stabbed, showed us photographs of the other side's followers that were stabbed. And the question I asked him was, okay, so where is the other person? That is the chairman of the council. They said, oh, he's not here. They let him go. So why is this gentleman here? And he couldn't answer. He said I should go and talk to the IG. It was clear. It was so clear what was going on. We left. We went to see the IG. IG was nowhere to be found. Until we got information and were told that the only person that can release the honorable member will be the governor of the state. Mr. Speaker, in the process, several of our colleagues' constitutional rights have been breached. He is entitled to freedom of movement. That has been breached. He is entitled to dignity, to human dignity. It's on the Constitution. That has been breached. Mr. Speaker, beyond this, an area that has not been addressed is the question of disenfranchisement. His supporters and the people of Suleja have been disenfranchised. Because once the person you want to vote for is not available on the ballot, you have been disenfranchised. His own constitutional right to be voted for has also been violated. So there are this touches on many rights that have been infringed. Mr. Speaker, many have talked about the right to bail, which he is entitled to, because this is not a capital offense. He has been there 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours. We're going to be here, and if steps are not taken, Honorable Lado will be in incarceration even next week on the pretext that two people were fighting. But we know the real reason. You have by subterfuge and surreptitiously removed him from the ballot. That itself is a case on its own. And whatever the result of that primary is, cannot stand. It cannot stand by law or fact. So it is an exercise in futility. But something needs to be done. The issue of SARS was all over the internet. It went viral all over the internet. And many of us, through back channels, tried to make sure SARS was reformed. And the Vice President made that pronouncement. Is this the reformation? So, Mr. Speaker, I think we need to be proactive on this matter. Our colleague is being harassed. I saw him yesterday. The officer said they were giving him privileges. I tried to call him at night. His phone was not with him because it had been seized. They gave it back to him this morning. He cannot even communicate. Mr. Speaker, many of our colleagues have tried to make certain amendments to this motion. Honorable Pajok, whom I identify with all the submissions, and I believe they should write, because I believe, like I said, you were distracted by many members, and I don't know what could have been more important than the issue of incarceration of one of us. My addition or amendment will be that should we not be able to secure the release of our colleague today, then the Inspector General of Police must come to this floor tomorrow. Not to any committee. Must come to this floor tomorrow. Invited tomorrow. In fact, the invitation can go out today in anticipation, so that he can come and explain to the whole House, because it's a privilege of the whole House that has been breached. Under the Legislative Houses and Privileges, Powers and Privileges Act. So he needs to come to this House tomorrow on the floor and tell us why any citizen, not to talk about the member of the House, any citizen is being held for 3 days for a case that is not a capital offense. And why the other person, because it takes two to tango, While the other person is walking the streets and standing for elections and primaries. Then our constitution also says there's a freedom, you cannot discriminate against anyone, whether by reason of his political views or position. So these are areas we need to talk about, we need to address squarely and frontally. One of the members amended that this house must not even sit until the guy is released. So this is an issue we should attack and look at frontally. We will go to the Inspector General of Police today. We will secure to it, and I believe we can be armed with a letter from this house. And if the Speaker can put a call through, so that we can know our next move. And I believe these are areas where this government is being given a bad name. I am sure that the government is not aware of what is going on. These are these overzealous elements within the government that are doing this. And I want to believe that a lie, and let me use these three words, big fat lie, is being perpetrated. I want to believe, I want to give the benefit of the doubt on the governor. Because it will be a crying shame if it is true that what we have heard, or what we have been told, or the insinuations that have been made against the governor are actually true. The governor is somebody I know personally. It's somebody I've had discussions with on several occasions. I don't see him as somebody who will use that, whatever instrument of power, which is even ultra-virus, even if he has control over his state police, he cannot have it over federal police. But I want to give him the benefit of that it is not true. But if it is true, then it is something we need to address. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Lasun Yusuf. I represent the Repodun Olorunda, Orolu Osogbo Federal Constituency. Ordinarily, after the leader of the House has contributed to the debate, I don't like watering down the quality of submissions because he's done very well, other colleagues have done very well too. But because I want to add my own contribution, because in Nigeria we grandstand a lot and people act out of lack of knowledge. Of course, Nigerians are generally found not to refer to knowledge when they are supposed to act. Let me remind the public that a sitting member of the House cannot just be arrested. If there is a case against a sitting member of the House, a formal letter should be written to the House addressed to the Speaker. Then the Speaker will consider the propriety of it and make sure that such a member is released to such an agency of government. This is important, this is the law, and in fact, I do not know why the Nigerian police does not know that there is a law that exists to say that legislative houses powers and privileges, which they must have read because they will have things to do with the National Assembly and they don't do. And again, I want to say this, although it might not look so relevant, but the arrest of Honorable Lado simply shows why Nigeria is not developing. Because we don't have time to pay attention to details of things that can refine our society. And so, as far as I'm concerned, whether it is political, whether it is ordinary two fighting, the mere fact that a sitting member of the House has been arrested, detained, and not being released, either based on self-recognition or based on the fact that I've stated earlier that there's a procedure that must be followed, shows that we are in a serious danger. And I want to say this lastly before I go to sit. I've reviewed my stay in the House after some time. I just discovered that legislators in Nigeria are the most endangered in terms of everything. We are the most endangered. No chairman of a council can be arrested the way Lado has been arrested. Everybody is aware of that. No chairman of the council. Not even a councillor can be arrested the way Lado has been arrested. They can arrest even a senator the way they have arrested them. What are the solutions to all these problems? If members of the National Assembly are endangered in Nigeria. And whereas, if you follow the history of democracy very well since 1999, if not for the National Assembly, by now we will not have what we call democracy again in Nigeria, because this is the only place where even when you are passionate about your party, we have a way of discussing our issues in making sure that the national interest is of utmost importance. But what we do here, with all respect to our colleagues in the respective states House of Assembly, are not found there. This is the only place where an APC member, for example, we stand up and say things that can improve the way executive does their job. This is the only house where the members of opposition, but if you see the way we are being treated, the legislative house, particularly the National Assembly, is endangered. I wish that the police is listening to us, and I wish, like the leader said, that by mere SAS, Special Anti-Robbery Squad, I hope they are listening. They should not just be arresting people. It is sad, and it's a sad day for democracy in Nigeria. And it is sad that there are laws that are in place to make sure that some things are not happening, yet they are happening. So, Mr. Speaker, we want our honorable colleague to be released. One of the young members of the House who is very, very vibrant. We want his vibrancy here, even if they are going to deny him his second-term ticket. Let him come here to come and complete his term without any, injury to his system, so that we can take out of the experience he must have had in the last 3.5 years. Thank you very much.
Okay, leader.
Mr. Chairman, forgive me for, I guess, one of the privileges of being a leader. If you remember, and I forgot to add this, Mr. Speaker, you decided that day that Honorable Lado, we need to add his quality of representation in this house. He made a landmark motion. I remember that, I can't remember the details, where something that had been confiscated from Niger State over the years, he was able to bring it to the fore and get it back to that state. That is the same person that is now being incarcerated purportedly by the governor, and is being stopped from further representation. Nobody has, everybody applauded. His emirs, everybody called to thank him for that motion. I cannot remember the details, but I'm sure you are aware, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
So we have some amendments here. First amendment is from Honorable Pajok.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, Mr. Speaker, I have 3 amendments. Prayer 1 is, if the police fail to release Honorable Lado today, then the House should not sit in plenary from tomorrow until he is released. That's 1. 2, that the Ethics Committee of the House should investigate the matter, and if the governor of Niger State is found culpable, then the state should not enjoy any privileges like approvals, etc. Then lastly, prayer 3, since the House has been denied the services of Honorable Abubakar Lado, then the House should take up the case on his behalf by filing the case in court and not him, because this is a House matter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I so move.
Take the 3 as a whole, or take them one after the other. Okay, one by one. The first amendment is, if the police fail to release Honorable Lado today, then the House should not sit in plenary from tomorrow until he is released. That's the first amendment. Any seconder? So that goes to no issue, as they say in court. Second amendment being proposed is that the Ethics Committee of the House should investigate the matter, and if the governor of Niger State is found culpable, then the state government should not enjoy any privileges like approvals, etc. from the House. Okay.
I'm not sure, unless the ethics wants to investigate the conduct of Lado. I don't think the ethics under his jurisdiction covers the conduct of anybody outside these chambers. It concerns only members of the House. So we cannot be investigating the ethics or the conduct of an outsider or a governor for that matter. That's my, unless he's referring to investigating Lado or the charges against Lado. If he has brought the house to disrepute, then we can investigate it. But not
Okay, Chairman rules.
While I entirely agree with the leader, I just want to add that even the scenario that he's bringing up, even if they are investigating Lado, we don't, the ethics committee doesn't have the powers to make any orders against an outsider in this case, because I mean, it will come to no issue. So we should stay on safe ground. I don't think we should go there.
Okay, so that one too goes to no issue. The last amendment is, since the House has been denied the services of Honorable Lado, the House should take up the case on behalf of Honorable Lado by filing a case in court. We should go to court. Any seconder? Honorable Zachary Mohammed.
I rise to second the amendment as moved.
Those in favor of the amendment say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Next amendment is from the House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My amendment is very straightforward, that should Honorable Lado not be released by the police in the next 24 hours, then the Inspector General of Police should be invited to the floor of the House to explain his continued incarceration without bail.
Any seconder? Rules of business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion, the amendment moved by the Leader of the House. I second the motion as moved, the amendment as moved by the Leader of the House.
So if you say 24 hours later, it means he can be released by this time tomorrow. Okay. So second as amended.
I readjust my secondment.
Those in favor of the amendment say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Additional prayer from Honorable Bode Irende. I think that has been overtaken. Okay.
So, Mr. Speaker, I am Dr. Bode Irende, the representative of Wasa Federal Constituency. I am proposing an additional amendment that until Honorable Lado is released, we should not consider any request from Mr. President on the floor of this House.
From the police.
Any seconder? Okay. So it goes to no issue. I'll put the question now. Those in favor of the motion as amended say aye. Those against it say nay. The ayes have it. So the clerk should liaise and ensure that the matter is filed in court on behalf of the honorable member who has been incarcerated. And then the letter too should be given to the leader, who led a small delegation to the IGP's office to ensure that the needful is done. I don't know if we have strength to continue. So, Honorable Pajok, you take your motion tomorrow, because I don't think we have any more gas in the system to continue. 322. But presentation of reports, are they ready? We can do those ones and start reading. But we can do first reading. Honorable members, the first business of the day, presentation of 9 bills. And I invite the clerk to read their short titles.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, Federal College of Dental Technology and Therapy Establishment Act Amendment Bill 2018, first reading. Federal University of Health Science, Otukpo Establishment Etc. Bill 2018, first reading. Federal University of Education, Zaria Establishment Etc. Bill 2018, first reading. Urban Ikoku Federal University of Education, Owerri Establishment Bill 2018, first reading. Federal University of Education, Kano Establishment Etc. Bill 2018, first reading. Ademi Federal University of Education, Ondo Establishment Etc. Bill 2018, first reading. Chartered Institute of Forensic and Investigative Auditors of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2018, first reading. Federal College of Education, Misau Establishment Etc. Bill 2018, first reading. Projects Development Agency Enugu Establishment Bill 2018, first reading.
So, Chairman, Rules of Business, could you move that we suspend all other businesses?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to move that the House do suspend all other businesses on the order paper that have not been exhausted. I so move.
Honorable Body.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion ably moved by the Chairman Rules and Business.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Then let me announce the Constitutional Technical Committee on bills for which assent has been declined. The committee will be chaired by Honorable OK Jeff Issa. OK Jeff Issa. Then with membership as follows: Honorable Pajok Edwards, Honorable Adeyinka Ajayi, Honorable Lois Shaibu, Honorable Gabriel Oyewufi, Africa, Honorable Kinsley Chinda, Honorable Soba Mohammed. Then additionally, the budget presented to us, transmitted to us by the President on NDDC, is hereby referred to the Committee on NDDC for further legislative action. And, last but not the least is this announcement from the House Leader. Following the date of Honorable Buba Umar Jibrin and the swearing in of a member who has been elected to fill his vacancy on the floor of the House, the Deputy Leader of the House, that's Honorable Umar Jibrin, who was the Deputy Leader of the House. And after due consultations with the North Central Caucus and leadership, Honorable Abdullahi Idris Wase has been unanimously and by consensus nominated as the Deputy House Leader. So as soon as the votes and proceedings of tomorrow are adopted, he will take his seat as the Deputy House Leader. Announcer is Honorable Femi Bajabia Mila, the House Leader. So, Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to move that this House stand adjourned till tomorrow, 11 a.m. I so move.
Rules and Business.
I rise to second the motion as moved by the Leader of the House.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. The ayes have it.